Hi everyone, Amy of Dragonspit Apothecary. Thanks for joining me this Friday for our Oracle card reading. I'm so excited to do these with you every week. It just is, I think they're fun, insightful. I am continuing to roll out some new decks in our weekly readings. And if you caught me last week, you saw that I used the new crystals cards that I have. And that was a big old reading. That was pretty intense with those crystals and the alignment of the natural oils to go with them. This week, I'm going to use another deck that I admit it's taken me a while to kind of work through this one because it's called the Divine Feminine. There are some powerhouse chicks in this deck. So I wanted to make sure that when I align them to essential oils, natural products, I was not undervaluing these powerful women because there are some big readings in this card deck. So if you, as you guys know, if you're new, welcome. Thanks for joining me. But I always recommend things that I personally use, and that would be doTERRA. If you don't know what that is or you have questions about them, you can reach out to me. But I have had great success with doTERRA oils. They're just beautiful. And I will never ask anyone to purchase outside of their budget range. I'm happy to work with people to figure out what's right for you and how to fit it into your family's budget so you can enjoy natural living. To me, debt-free is part of natural living. So I'm happy to support you in that process if you have questions. So let's get into this one. Wow. So this first card is what we need this weekend. And, this first card was very interesting to me. Her name is Perpetua. And we're going to talk a lot about her because she's got a real interesting story. But she is the card of being your authentic self, being true to yourself. And, how often do we have to put on a different hat to fit into what we're doing in the roles in our life? And this lady, she was pretty stubborn in who she was, and she wasn't going to give up. She actually was a she was of noble family, and she stuck with it to the end, as I'm going to tell you here in a minute. So she is a Catholic saint, and again, her power is authenticity. And she was a married noble woman living in the 3rd century in what is North Africa today. So the Roman emperor during her time forbid conversions to Judaism and Christianity during that time. And in celebration of his birthday, what he would do is go up and round up the people who would not convert to what he thought was the right religion of the time. And she, Perpetua, along with a pregnant slave, were captured during this time, and they wouldn't renounce their faith, okay? And they were sentenced to a public death in an arena, okay? So this is back when they stuck you in an arena and, spectators came in and watched you die. While she was waiting for her trial, she had a diary called The Passion of Saint Perpetua. And it's one of the oldest, this is the part I thought was cool, it was one of the oldest and most extraordinary early Christian texts. And it talks about being true to yourself, being authentic, and not giving up your identity because others force their will on you. Still being true to yourself, even in those adverse times. So she talks about this in her journal, that her father came to her time and time again, begging her to renounce her faith and just go along with what the Roman emperor wants, right? Just go along with it. You don't have to just outwardly say you're going to do it. You're out of here. You can come home. You can be with your husband and your children. and this was the fun fact. So while he's begging her, she said, "Hey, you see that pot laying over there? Would you call that by any other name just to call it something different?" And he's like, "Well, no, of course not. It's a pot." She said, "Well, then neither can I call myself by another name than who I am, and I am a Christian." So she was very stubborn in not giving up what she truly believed in about herself. And she refused to renounce her faith. And she maintained this all through her trial. And her, even though her husband and her father begged her not to, and this was in a time women didn't have no rights, they were property. So, and her and the slave girl lived this way until the end. And it was 203 CE when they were put into an arena together. And here's this noble woman and this slave in an arena dying as sisters. So this card is telling us to be courageous and true to who we are, despite the circumstances that are going on, and to have a voice that is both moving and compelling simply by being authentic. Tell me that's not powerful. Whew. And even 200 years, more than 200 years later, her diary is renowned by the church as something of beauty and truth. Okay, her words were so impactful then, and they could be still today, right? They are today. And it suggests that there is no greater power than choosing to remain our authentic self in all circumstances. And she's a person who remained loyal to her soul and urges us through her example to embrace that now. Even in death. I don't know. I don't know. I would like to think I could be that strong. Boy, I don't know. It's a pretty high bar there. And so the oils that I align to this. So what we need this weekend first is be true to yourself and make sure that you were clear on that. And so you can take a stand where you need to, or where maybe you're feeling repressed in your own identity, and being able to find ways to reclaim that. Okay, and again, we're all guilty of it. We put on those different hats at work and home and in our lives. And we really, this is encouraging us to sit down and look at if we're being authentic in all those situations. Okay, so what I put with this card is cassia, spearmint, and kumquat. And again, I only use the doTERRA oils, and here's why. When you are working with trying to identify your true authentic self and get down to brass tacks about it, you don't want to be monkeying around with something that's not going to work. And I can tell you all three of those doTERRA oils work very well. So, cassia is the oil of your wisdom. It's knowing who you are. You've done your research, and you're very crystal clear and confident in your knowledge of who you are. Spearmint is the oil of your voice, and it helps you speak your truth and not waver in what is right for you. And saying those words that don't align to who you are won't work. Okay, and spearmint helps you recognize that. Same with kumquat. That obviously is a citrus fruit, and it's very supportive of not letting those outside forces deter you from who you really are, what you're really about. Okay, so that's our challenge this weekend. Who are you? Okay. And so if that wasn't interesting enough, wait till you hear this next one. So this is the card that we need for next week. Boy, oh boy. And I apologize, it's going to take me a minute to get to that, but the book doesn't really have them in alphabetical order. So let me get to her page, and I'll tell you who this is. Where is she? Where is she? Page. Okay. So this next one, what we need next week is a little Joan of Arc. And she's a pretty historical figure. We know her pretty well, right? So she is the warrior of light. And this is having faith in yourself and arming yourself with conviction that you're doing what's right for you. Okay? So as you know, she was representing the power of all we possess and aligning to our calling. So again, here's a woman who didn't have much right in the time that she lived, becoming a very integral part of our history. She put on a man's clothes and led an army on behalf of France. Uh, Incredible at this time, right? And her, she obviously went to jail too. They caught her, put her in jail, and they tried her for cross dressing of all things, right? And she's like, I'm just trying to be my true self. This was my calling. This was my purpose. And I did it very well. And now you're punishing me just because of the sex that I am. Okay. But at that time, women, again, were property. They couldn't lead armies. This chick did. She did pretty badass. And she was a teenager to boot. So anyway, she was sentenced to death, but later acquitted and canonized by the Pope. So, and again, they really kind of honed in on not the fact that she won a war for them, but the fact that she was cross-dressing. Like, that really mattered, right? So the card is talking about our testament to know what is possible. And we believe steadfastly in our own vision and going against the odds to make it happen. Okay? And ask us to be moved beyond our fear and limiting beliefs and act on our own truth. And do that with confidence and knowing that every step is flanked with angels that are supporting us. Pretty powerful, right? I mean, yeah, wow. All right, so here's what I aligned with this one. On Guard, which is immunity protection. Okay, and it's very supportive of our immunity system. And when we're doing things that we're a little bit scared of, our immunity system may not behave fully because we're focused on other things. So that little extra support, as the book called it, angels, supporting us and making sure we're going to stay healthy through that process. So On Guard. Wintergreen, which is a very strong warrior oil that gives us strength, courage, and allowing us to go down paths that maybe people don't understand. And knowing that we're not alone, but it can feel very lonely, and it can feel like you're beating against the water or moving against the wind, but you are moving in a direction that's right for you, even if no one else understands it. The other one I put in here was Balance, and this is a doTERRA blend as well, but this one helps us good gracious, centered on who we are and staying true and at peace and not letting the limitations around us stop us from doing what we need to do. Okay, so that's what we need next week is a little Joan of Arc and a little On Guard to go with it. How beautiful is that? Okay, so if those two blew your mind, wait till you hear this next one. This next card is from the universe. And I admit, I had heard stories about this one, but, it's a little hush-hush. Sometimes stories kind of, you don't know if they're true or not. So this next card is from the universe, and it's called Pope Joan. And you may have heard of her. I remember, but it's not real talked about. But she is the Pontiff of Possibilities. And I'm going to tell you her story because I'm telling you, I was blown away. And like I said, I knew just a tiny bit about her before I saw this card. And I'm real impressed now. So from the universe, here we have possibilities that are limitless. And because our soul is limitless. Okay, that's what this card's about. So Pope Joan embodied the truth that all things are possible. That's what she's known for. And she was a only female pope, okay, in the 9th century. So a very, very long time ago. She was brilliant, highly educated. And, again, at this time, women didn't have, horses had more rights than women, okay? But she would enter the Catholic Church in Rome dressed as a man so she could go see her lover. And she was very quick-witted, and she rose through the ranks of the church and was elected pope. No way, right? She reigned as pope for 3 years before they caught on to this. And it was when the only reason they caught on to it is because during a procession in St. Peter's, she gave birth right there. That's the only way they got away with it. I'm telling you. So, legend has it, there's a couple of versions of it. One says she was killed immediately and buried on the spot where she gave birth. Another said she lived to do her penance for her deception, and her son became the bishop and had her entombed with honor in his cathedral when she died. So I don't really know which one's the truth, but there's a couple versions of it. Her name was removed from the list of popes. Now, I found that really interesting because popes were descendants of Peter. And what they're saying is women couldn't descend from Peter. And you know that can't be true. But they literally removed her name from the list of popes. Okay? And no one talked about this. They even created a throne so that when they elected popes from then on, it was a special throne with a hole in it that he had to sit on to confirm it was a man. That one cracked me up. So they weren't taking any chances after she pulled this. I don't know if they still do that or not, but that was pretty comical. There in the 13th century was the first mention of this incident and the unnamed female pope. And obviously it's sent through wildfire throughout the time. And, again, because they removed her name from the list of popes, there's not really official documents to say what went down or about this, right? So that's why you don't see it. But here's what this card means. We can easily be caught beneath the glass ceiling. Okay? We've all bumped against it. I have. The truth is, everything is possible. Even breaking that glass ceiling. And this lady did it in the 9th century. Okay? It's hard to imagine just how much the divine wants for our lives, much more than we could ever hope. Pope Joan reminds us that even if we think that what we want isn't possible, it is. Even better, there is something our soul wants for us that will give us more than we can think to ask for. So, this card asks us to trust in what we believe about ourselves. Trust what's within us. Don't rely on what you see around you. Have faith. Know the circumstances you are currently in are transformed from within you. Begin to believe in your vision of your life. Cultivate the capacity to see it, to really imagine it with all your senses. And you will live in the day when it exists as the reality. Her right hand in this card is in the papal blessing signal, right? That little Pope wave. I guess, yeah, it's a Pope wave. And it's the Christian mudra of benediction. The two fingers that point downward represent Christ's dual nature as both fully human and fully divine. The human ego is limited and lives beneath the glass ceiling. Joan demonstrated to us that for the soul, the glass ceiling doesn't even exist. Trust in what your soul knows is possible for you, and that is what Joan's smile is there to remind us about. Okay, there is no glass ceiling, honey. You can break it. If you think there is one, then you're only going to be limited by what's going on up here. Okay, so, wow, oh wow, here's what I aligned to this card. Melissa, which is lemon balm. Very good at helping us remove limiting beliefs. Feeling confident and assured and at peace. Okay, and growing in who we are. Lemongrass, very detoxifying. Clears out those limiting beliefs. Oh, you don't need those. Get you some lemongrass. Scrub them out. Cilantro, which is the oil of freedom. Free from anything that's holding us back. free from material things, and just living in our true free self. Okay, and that's been very strong in all these cards: the authenticity, the warrior in us, the pursuit of what we want, the pursuit of our soul. Okay, I think these are very beautifully aligned cards. And you know, I think that there's a lot of benefit to using lemongrass, cilantro, melissa in support of this message from the universe. So there you have it. Like I said, it's taken me a while to dig into this one to get some really good alignment to these oils and cards together. But boy, these are good stuff, right? So leave me a thumbs up. Tell me you love it. Join me next Friday for another oil oracle card. I think I'm going to use these cards again because they're pretty cool. And subscribe to YouTube channel, Dragon Spit Apothecary, and come over to the website. Let's get you started on a natural health journey that will transform your life. Okay, guys, till next time. Mwah.